From the high seas, buried treasure, the Caribbean, and booty. All of these words describe the life of a pirate perfectly, with the terrors of the seas having many infamous stories told about them, and of course with dozens of movies, games, cartoons, and depictions of them in popular media, whether they're accurate or not. From having an actual good insurance plan to interactions with Julius Ceaser himself, here are 10 bizarre facts about pirates. Number 10. Pirates had an insurance plan. Strange as it may sound, pirates actually did provide insurance to their crewmates. At least, some of them, I suppose. One notable example was Captain Henry Morgan, who had drawn up a charter of health benefits of any injured crewmates. Basically, if a crew member were to be injured in a battle, lose a limb, or become incapacitated, they still would get a cut of the treasure from the raid. Morgan's plan in particular went as such. Losing a hand or a foot would net an injured pirate 600 pieces of 8, 1,800 pieces of 8 for losing both legs, and 200 pieces for the loss of an eye. I tried doing the math for all this, but I ended up getting a headache because I am horrid at math. So unfortunately, no real dollar amount of how much that actually insured. These payouts were guaranteed and the rest of the treasure would be split up between the crew. Now, of course, not every pirate practiced this, but how does it feel to know some savage pirates had a better insurance plan than a lot of us modern companies nowadays? Number 9. Eye patches weren't actually due to eye loss. An eye patch with a skull and crossbones on it is a staple of pirate culture, but funnily enough, it wasn't always worn because Smitty poked his eye out with his hook hand. The actual explanation actually was more tactical, providing a better transition to night vision. The seas can be unforgiving, but the sun can also be a nuisance to someone who's on the upper deck for a good time and then has to go down below into the dark. By keeping one eye constantly in the dark, it made the transition from sunny day to the darkness of a ship easier. This was also especially useful when the ship was under attack and they had to go from top to bottom constantly to load cannons and direct the attack. Number 8. Piracy was often better than honest work. Tell me, you ever feel underappreciated at your job? Maybe you're making too little at your position at Burger King and want a raise, but that jerk Jenkins got it, even though he doesn't do anything and he only got it because he knows the boss's son? Well, personally, just throwing this out there, I'd suggest becoming a pirate. Topic Best does not condone theft and pillaging of booty in the modern age. That's what a lot of people resorted to in the age of piracy, however. This is because honest work came with a lot of cons for the high seas and the merchants and soldiers who made their living from it. Oftentimes, the living conditions on merchant and trade ships were less than great. For instance, they had ratty beds, ratty food, and probably just sometimes rats in general, somehow. Also on top of that, they were often underpaid and sometimes outright cheated out of their cash by stingy captains and companies. Given the choice between having a less strict captain who possibly had insurance and a captain like Mr. Krabs, not surprising a lot of merchants went with pirates when invaded. Number 7. Some pirates actually worked with the government. You'd expect the government of different nations to hate pirates. I mean, they are the worst kind of people, as the government can't even tax them. Thank you, I'll be here every script. In reality though, pirates actually had quite the lucrative time with the governments of the world. Often during war times, nations would give a green light to pirates to attack and pillage enemy vessels and ports. Not only would the government get a share of the cut, they'd also take down their enemies and the pirates would get one major payday. These kinds of pirates were referred to as privateers, with two great examples being the aforementioned Captain Morgan and the new Sir Drake. Morgan in particular had been commissioned by the governor of Jamaica to attack Spanish vessels during tense war times, which he had great success in. Sir Drake, on the other hand, started his career as a privateer after Queen Elizabeth heard of his attacks on Spanish vessels and decided to hire him on. Number 6. Women were pirates as well. Pirates are generally portrayed as savage, dirty men who steal treasure and women for their own urges. However, in some cases, women did take up the parrot and eye patches to go plunder some treasure. Sure, it was a rarer sight, but in a world where being a handmaiden or housewife were some of the better job positions for women, it ain't all that surprising. One very big notable example was Zheng Yisao, otherwise known as Ching Sin, who was a pirate wife turned pirate captain when she took control of her late husband's fleet. Ching took control of her husband's fleet after he died at the age of 42, taking power of the entire pirate confederation and commanding over 1,500 ships with a legion of 60,000 pirates, leading to a very successful 3-year reign of the seas for her. Number 5. Pirates practice same-sex marriage. Talk about progressive, am I right? Pirates are surrounded all day, every day, on a ship surrounded by other big burly men. Like it or not, some level of intimacy is going to be blooming for some more of the lovesick pirates. Now, to be fair, it was not the traditional I-do marriage. More or less, it was a sort of partnership called a mateolage. This was a marriage-like agreement where two men would share their finances with one another, and if one died, the other would be their sole inheritor. Even when women were added to the equation, often the couple would just share them, as they shared everything. It is a hotly debated topic, but there is a lot of evidence that point to this practice as being romantically linked. Number 4. The bloody red flag was a death sentence. Seeing a pirate ship barreling down on your pacifist merchant ship is scary enough. But then there was nothing even more terrifying to a sailor than to see the blood-red flag hoisted on a pirate ship. The simple piece of crimson cloth meant one thing and one thing only. Kill them all. No survivors, no quarter, no mercy. There would be no bartering, there would be no defecting to them, there would be no mercy at all. These pirates were coming to end you and your crew's life, and then burn the remains and allow the ship to sink into the sea, never to be seen again. Number 3. Pirates put a lot of faith in their earrings. Pirates love treasure. This is a pretty common fact that's easy to figure out. But pirates put special stock in their earrings, often keeping them as their prized possessions. This is for a multitude of reasons, from practical to more superstitious. Let's list some of the weirder beliefs first. Some pirates believed their earrings would bring good fortune, or actually acted as special trinkets that protected them from outward dangers. Common beliefs of their earrings was that they could stave off seasickness, or depending on the metal and alloy used, that they would help with one's eyesight, or even prevent one from drowning if they fell overboard. Spoiler, they did not. However, earrings also had a very practical use as well, in that their earrings were their burial insurance as well. No one wants to leave this world without a proper burial or cremation, and pirates were no different. Despite spending their lives on the sea, they didn't want to end up at the bottom of it. This meant that they often had instructions that their gold or silver earrings would be used to pay for a proper funeral, going as far as to engrave their home's name so if they washed up on shore, they could be shipped back. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's best pick is probably the most humorous story worthy of a Looney Tunes adaptation. The words Julius Ceaser meets pirates may be a strange title, but it did actually happen. The result was a strange mixture of kidnapping and Caesar being an absolute diva about things. With that though, find out more next with number 2. Pirates took hostages, including Julius Ceaser, as we've said. We portrayed pirates in a more positive light than most people would, what with insurance policies, gay marriage, and women pirates, but at the end of the day, we need to remember one thing. Pirates, for all their intents and purposes, are still criminals who are more than happy to get money through any means necessary. From pillaging, murder, extortion, and of course the good old reliable hostage-taking. Oftentimes, the pirates would keep hostages from ships they attacked, ransoming them off to their companies or government for money. Pretty standard operation. Though there was one very famous hostage takeover, that was Julius Ceaser. See, in 75 BCE, Sicilian pirates kidnapped Caesar, then 25 years old, and held him for ransom. While this might be terrifying for you or me, we're not Caesar, who was more annoyed with this event than anything else. The pirates informed them they had set a ransom of 20 talents, the currency at the time, and Caesar straight up told them to raise it to 50 as he was worth it. This was just a sort of a situation that acted more like a Bugs Bunny cartoon, with Caesar bossing around the dumbfounded pirates and making them listen to his various speeches and poems, calling them illiterates and idiots if they disagreed with the quality of them. Soon after, the ransom was delivered and Caesar walked away free, and then threatened to crucify the pirates one day. The pirates took it as a joke, having grown fond of the brave man. But he's Julius Caesar, he made very good on his promise. Caesar would simply raise a naval force, went back to the island the pirates were based on, captured them, and then crucified every single one of them. Caesar was one crazy guy to say the least, but he was a man of his word. You can't say that. Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 15% of you watching are actually subscribed. Come on guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. Number 1. Walking the plank wasn't all that common. It's the biggest pirate saying, the biggest cliche, and most recognizable act of a pirate's life. Forcing some landlubber to walk the plank, often with hungry sharks or a tick-tocking croc below. Yarg. Though, funnily enough, this was actually very uncommon. However, don't you worry. If a pirate is going to punish you or kill you, they have far worse ways of doing so. Let's just go through the list, shall we? They would maroon hostages or traders on deserted or dangerous islands, leaving them to die of starvation or other causes. They could whip them until they bled and died. Another cliche, though, is keel hauling. We do use that in a lot of jokes and also pirate speak, but keel hauling is actually friggin' terrifying. Keel hauling is innocently said by several people, thinking it ain't so bad, but guess what? Keel hauling is friggin' horrifying! The process is, again, horrifying, with the offender being tied to a rope and thrown overboard. The victim would then be dragged down one side of the ship, under the vessel entirely, and back up to the other side in some kind of sick loop-de-loop. What makes this worse is that the bottoms of the ships are often covered in barnacles, and scraping against them with bare skin would cause some serious damage to someone. With that, though, that's our video for today, folks. What was your favorite pirate act? Are you disappointed that it wasn't like the Pirates of the Caribbean? Let us know in the comments below. And with all that said and done, that's our video for today, folks, and I will see you all next time. Later, everybody!